everyone in Alabama wanted slavery back, you'd be okay with that?
Sure. If you go back and you watch that whole clip, like the reason why she's so indifferent to something like the institution of slavery coming back in full force is because she genuinely believes that slavery does not apply to her. When she thinks slavery, she thinks black people. She thinks those people over there. And the reason why we cannot progress and move forward as a society is because people are constantly dismissive to issues that they think only affects other people. And they don't have the intellectual ability to understand how it affects them too. This is literally the same thing that happened during slavery. Okay? Only 25% of the white South population owned slaves. What were the other 75% doing? What she doesn't realize is that if slavery comes back full force, sure, I don't care. What does it have to do with me? Okay, well, when these corporations say, oh, nice, free labor, so I don't have to hire you and I don't have to pay you a living wage because I can just get free labor off of the backs of these people, where are you going to end up, Bookie? Who's going to pay your bills? You're gonna be poor. That's what's gonna happen is poverty. That's what already happened in slavery. The other 75% of white people were struggling and poor because they couldn't compete with a system that operated on free labor. I need people to think. I need you to think. Just because the image that comes in your brain when it comes to slavery is those people over there, I mean, it's not going to affect you. But this is why we can't have progress. Because she's blonde, young, white girl. She probably thinks somebody's just going to marry her and take care of her and all of those different types of things. You think slavery is just for black people? Do you realize how many women were slaves? How many women didn't have rights of their own bank account, their own money? So is that the case now too? If the whole state just thinks that women like you don't deserve to have a say, don't deserve to have their own money, don't deserve to, then that's okay now? People love, you love to be so tough. Love to be so tough on the outside when it comes to an issue that's going to affect other people until it starts to affect you. Then we're talking about abortion rights. Do you know how many women who are trying to start families, but they're having septic pregnancies and they're having issues and they actually need abortion care to surgically remove the fetus that has passed away? That is something that can happen to you, my friend.
And this white girl, she'll be the first one to cry. She'll be the first one to be saying, let them go back to Africa. Dumbass.
The biggest privilege white people have is not institutional access. Arguably, the biggest privilege that white people have is not having to be hyper-aware of their identity at all times. But keep in mind, I said hyper-aware. That doesn't mean that a white man doesn't know he's a white man and a white woman doesn't know she's a white woman. What it means is that they don't choose to or have to compartmentalize their identities constantly for survival or social proof. In the African community, in the black community, we are too aware of our identities as a result of our circumstances under colonialism, imperialism, and racism in this world. We spend most of our lives playing these word games about who's really black, who's light-skinned, who's dark-skinned, who's brown-skinned, who's really African, who's African-American, who's ADOS, who's South African, who's really African, who's East African. We waste our time and our talent playing these identity politics, when the real politics we need to be playing is the politics of material acquisition in international relations. In no way should we deny our experiences under colorism, under texturism, under tribalism. But if we spend our lifetimes, our efforts, our talents, and our energy focused towards these things, then what room do we have? What space do we have to acquire material conditions for our community? The light skins got stories, the brown skins got stories, the dark skins got stories, the African Americans got stories, the Caribbean Africans got stories, the immigrants got stories, the continental Africans got stories, the European Africans got stories. And again, I will never deny any of our experiences. But we tell these stories and we obsess over these stories and we build our identity upon these stories, but we never tell the story of our material conditions. If we're not addressing our stories under imperialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the European patriarchy, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under colonialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the prison industrial complex, under the healthcare system that disproportionately affects our women, I think the other stuff can wait. Which again, going back to the point of my video, is the reason why white people are ahead in this country. Because while they have the privilege to focus on their material conditions, you're worried about, do people like you or not? How beautiful are you?
They're even more concerned about okay, the camera felt weird. We're even more concerned about things that don't even make sense, really. When you look at it, most of the time it's sort of like we are trying to escape, and we are not focused for a group of people who are oppressed. We are even more thinking about mixing with other races of people, and we're not there yet. How can we mix with other races of people when we're yet to fix our own things together? I don't want to be mixing around with white people when I haven't gotten my ish together. I don't want this interracial thing going on that I must mix with other people, because you're gonna have Samantha there over there thinking that slavery is good, slavery works best, and then until it starts chopping her feet, and then she's gonna come to us to utilize us, because that's exactly what the other 75 did when they realized that, oh, this game is rigged, might as well use the African Americans. So they will start to capture slaves as well, they will start hunting them as well to utilize, because they're white, they can. Do you understand? So I don't want that. And when we talk about this, I even said this in my not my home loans, but yes, I did a video about home loans, but it was in my native language. I'm just gonna add it for the people who are South African and wanting to know what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the same thing, because even black people were talking about the fact that just because they live in the suburbs, they are more credible to the bank because they live in the suburbs. You don't know that because you live in the suburbs, you are even a target. You are a target. You're recognized more. You don't see it. You are in a space that was reserved for white people. That is why white people move out when there's a lot of black people coming in, because the area has now been devalued. They don't want to be around you. They don't want their kids schooling with your kids. So I wanted to make that clear again to the black people who just are deaf and dumb. So initially, at the end of the day, it's a choice. It's a choice. So who are I? Who are we? Who am I to even force adults that, it's bad that side? Better think of something else, because we're going to have water shading, things that don't really exist in a world that lives in abundance. We're having problems that don't make sense. Do you understand? It's capitalism always evolving, and then utilizing people like us to fight their game. And they make a lot of money doing so. Nazo indaba ezinkulu. Ngatshela mina. Mawungakhumbuli ngizakukhumbuza ke. Black people are charged as much as 19% interest rate, while the average of whites is 11.25%. Blacks are charged more, putting them at risk defaults and having their assets repossessed. Ama-bank asifavora thina ngoba thina sihlala amasabhabhu. Abanye bahlala ama-township. Ayikho leyo ndaba, ngiyakutshela. Ke presence ya hao e devaluang di-property. Ga gone taba gore wena o dula kae. O nkwešetša gore ke reng? O kana wa dula disabapong, wa dula di-townshiping. Ge o le motho o montsho, bale ba ditšhelete ba ile go charge tšhelete kaka. Bile mo go bontshang gore wena o motho wa ditšhelete. Ke mo ba le o konopa ba re washa. Tswara wena ngwana Sathane. Yazi indlela uEsther phapha ngayo angiqondisisi kahle, ngoba mina ngikhuluma naye, ngikhuluma nani. Ngamhlanje mina angisizwi ukuthi ngikhulume isingisi, ngoba mina angizwani nomlungu phaphayo. Ngamhlanje ngizokhuluma ngendlela ifuna ngimi. Manje nina nivule izindlebe zenu nimamele mengikhuluma nani. Ngelinye ilanga uhlele ekhaya ungayenzi lutho, ngicela ukuthi ufune i-restaurant yabelungu. Ukufanele ukuthi wena uyazi isibhono. Ukuthi wena ufake le ndlebe yakho uyifake indabeni zabo. Laba bantu bayazi. Bazenza idom lakithi. Nemisebenzi bona bayithola kanjani ngoba abafundanga? Rina banorifa mimmereko ba itse gore bona ba e batle mimmereko eo. Ke re le setlaela sa mafelo sa leburu se nyaka mmereko o patela botse. Nna ke tlha sekolong so ke rutegile ke go nna le ngwana leburu wa setlaela. Ke re gore go tsena go diplekenyana tse tsa bona tse o tlo utlwa le bona ba bolela bana le mesebetsinyana ya bona gore bona ba kopana bjang ba ira tšhelete bjang. Ba itse batho ba itse ba dira ka mabomo ene ba itira ka re rena ka re dibari a re bone. If there's anything I know to the certain is that I'm good with making money and managing money. My credit record is excellent. It's very healthy, as you can see. When I make my posts, I'm not talking about the exceptions. You and me are the exceptions. I have banks even offering me low interest rates. And I don't even have to submit my degree. I don't even live in the suburbs. I'm just a girl on the farms, you know? And even get a loan of even $500,000. They even say pre-selected, you can even click here, the money will be in your account as soon as possible. But I'm not talking about you and me. What we're talking about is the banks giving white people funding with minimal effort. A white person with the worst credit record can be approved for a home loan, receive the lowest of the lowest interest rate. So we question all of this. What's the point of all of this? What's the point of it?